Welcome to another edition of Mailbag. And right up front, if you're sitting there thinking, I watched that video the other day, the reason is because I'm recording one block header for all the Mailbag items I'm going to be filming this afternoon. I was filming outside in the workshop, but it's got too cold, so I've moved inside to the orange corner. So here we go. Now remember, Mailbag are questions, comments, and various other things that you guys leave on the channel or you email me directly that I think are worth airing. So before we get going, parish notices. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? Tell your friends, tell the street, tell the world, get them to subscribe. I jest. But if you seriously haven't subscribed to the channel and you like videos about this sort of stuff and musical equipment in general, then subscribe. If you want to be notified when those sort of videos hit the channel, you really need to press that bell icon as well. If you like the content of the video, give it a thumbs up. Down below, leave comments. I do read the comments, I respond to the comments, and sometimes I even make videos about the comments you guys leave, so they give me ideas about future content for the channel. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can support the channel and support the production of videos. The address of the TMTG community is down the bottom there, as are the Facebook and Instagram feeds, where all the channel notices during the week are posted. And obviously the release of videos is posted over there as well. But now, back to the next mailbag item. Ooh. You wouldn't believe that speaking to camera is actually thirsty work, but when you're doing one after the other, it becomes very thirsty work. Anyway, next one comes from DJ Nobby Dorkside, stroke Roland Aria. In response to installing new firmware on the Roland TR8 installed in the 606 upgrade video I did a long time ago. And he writes, "All right, pal." And I do apologise if that's not the accent of your voice. "Can you advise on the SH101 expansion for install on the SYSTEM-1? Is it just a drag and drop after the file is open? Where are you in the UK? Expat in the US? Thanks for the vids and very helpful for novices, Alan G." So, and I actually took a long while to respond to this. As you know, I've been going through the back catalogue of questions on the channel now that now that YouTube has changed the filtering process, and I can actually see which comments I've actually responded to and which comments I haven't. And this was also written a while ago. The problem with the SYSTEM-1 plug-out is it's not just a simple drag and drop, unfortunately. You do actually need the Roland Cloud system now to be able to load plugins. When they first launched the SYSTEM-1, it was a different system. You downloaded a VST plugin effectively, which is kind of what you do now, but it was completely autonomous to the Roland Cloud. And effectively you then loaded that into your DAW and did it that way. So effectively you loaded up the plug out into the DAW and then you pushed it to your SYSTEM-1. And in essence you do the same thing now, but you have to have a Roland Cloud account to do it, and you pull the VST down that way. So once you've loaded the cloud application now, the Roland Cloud application into your VST, you can then load in the plugin and assign it to be sent to the SYSTEM-1. So it's a relatively simple thing to do. It's just the mechanism that Roland had for doing it has changed, as mechanism for doing anything with Roland always changes. And I think where people get confused is that the plug out loads an engine, and people do sound banks for engines. And that's kind of a bit of a confusing state, because to load a sound bank, all you have to do is follow the backup and restore procedure I did in a video earlier last year, that's 2020, about restoring, backing up and restoring the SYSTEM-1. If you follow that video, and then when you come to the restore part, put your sound bank in, you'll be able to load the sound, the tones in. But you can't load the engine that way. And I think that's kind of something that a lot of people sort of have problems with, because they think that loading the engine also loads sound banks, which it does, okay, but then you can overwrite the sound banks for that engine with new sound banks, or you can create your own and then back them up. Nothing is as simple in this life, is it? But that's the reality. So I hope that makes sense, Alan. And just to answer your other questions, no, I'm not an expat. I don't live in the US. I am in England. I'm on the south coast, not a million miles away from Brighton, which would probably be the easiest place to say. So that's kind of where I am. Okay, this one comes from Louis in response to unboxing the D-Tronics DT7 video I did in June 2018. And this is one of those things that I've done some work with the D-Tronics stuff, but I've done very little to video with it. In fact, I've done virtually nothing to video with it, actually, if I'm brutally honest. And Louis writes, "Oh, interesting. Good to know. I'm thinking of getting one so I can control the TX1816 remotely. Can you select between the patches and presets on the DT7 alone, or do you need to select the patches and presets on the DX7?" Oof. Good question. Good question. The DT7 works in two ways. First of all, you can dial a patch up on your source device, like a DX7, and then you can load that patch into the DT7. And then once you've loaded it into the DT7, you can modify it and then dump the patch back. So that's the first way. And the second way is you can start with a completely blank canvas, and you can select your algorithm patterns and build your patch from scratch, and then load it into a slot on the DX7. So it works either way. What I've tended to find is doing it. I've done a lot of probably more modifications of patches that are on the DX7 rather than built patches from scratch. But that's just kind of how I've been playing with it. The DT7 will load the parameters from the DX7 effectively live in real time. But in order to retain them, you have to commit them. So just remember that there's a commit process that you have to run, and that actually will retain the patches on the instrument. So quite often you sort of like you change things around and think, oh, that sounds brilliant, but if you don't commit it, it don't get saved, and then next time you come along, you can't find it. And I've done that once or twice.